Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Daskar Christensen. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Continia Software. I will be your host today, but in a few minutes, I will hand over things to my colleague, Anne, who will guide you through the main part of the session. All our solutions have now been upgraded to the new 2026 R1 version, which supports Business Central 2026 Wave 1, also known as version 28 in both the Continia and Microsoft world. This means that any company starting up on Business Central Online version 28 will automatically be working with our new version 28 through Microsoft Marketplace. And for those running Business Central on premises, the extensions supporting version 28 will be available during the next week. And these are our products offerings as today, a full suite of empowering finance processes within travel and expenses, financial management, accounts payable, and accounts receivable automation. All solutions are available as a free 30-day trial through Microsoft Marketplace. But right here and right now, all focus is on Continia Banking, and for that purpose, I will leave sound and vision to Anne.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you to everyone of you guys joining in. This is going to be a very exciting. You've tuned in to Continia Banking 2026 R1. I will go through this agenda for today. It's filled with a lot of improvements to the already existing solution. I will do my very best to prepare you for which areas of the solutions we are working in. So when I go through the features, I will try to make you aware of where we are. But we are looking at, first of all, bank account verification, permission sets, character mapping, payment information setup, and then how to copy payment methods. We'll look into multi-level discounts, go into status info on entries, and if they're exported to file. We'll go into payment status pages, and we will look at the search feature for that. Go look at job queue setup, and then we have some things for direct debit. We have shortcut keys I will very briefly introduce you to. Then we have some additions to rules. We have some options on how to handle payment differences different types of payment differences. And then we'll go into CSV port, the assisted setup. Then I'll look a little bit into the Q&A. I don't know if I'll be able to answer any questions directly, but I'll see if there's anything that pops out. Otherwise, I'll handle those questions afterwards. And then, of course, I'll end on a thank you note. But it's about time, so let's take a look at some of the things that I've prepared for you. We'll start out with a small but neat feature and something that's definitely in high demand. We've heard it a lot. This is in our security module, and it has to do with our verification on bank account belonging to the recipient of the payment. So the bank account that we are paying to. It's been a wish from several sides that you can not only verify one at a time, but that you, under controlled circumstances, could opt to go in and verify more bank accounts in one go. In this What's New webinar, I've done things a little bit differently than normally. Hopefully, this will benefit you because you can more easily go and take a look at what I will now go through in a controlled flow. And that means that you can't do anything wrong. So when we're done with all of this, I've gone through everything, you can then go through the same things that I've showed you and try it out, but in a very, very controlled flow. And then afterwards, you can go in and work with the features, but in your own environment, knowing like a path through. This is a recorded click guide, and I will show you in a second. And again, it'll be available to you afterwards through the PDF that you'll receive after the webinar is done. So let's take a look at it. Oh, to click on the link here. So this is the click guide through, and just a short presentation that's going to be on all of the different click guides. So this is how you can verify multiple bank accounts in one go. First, let's navigate in the role center to the unverified bank account list. And first of all, I'll show you how you can select one bank account at a time and then go and verify it. And this is the way that you've done it before. You'll be presented with the information on the bank account that is new, and you can put in a verification method like a phone or email, and then put in a comment, spoke to whoever, and that it's verified. And then, of course, confirm. But the new thing here is that you can go in and select, in this case, 3. This is a customer and vendor and employee bank account. And I've selected all of them, and I'll click verify, and then all 3 bank accounts will be verified. Do you want to continue? And then they'll get a status setting that's saying that they are verified in a batch. And that's basically it. I will go back into the demo here. The next thing, because we looked at the bank account verification, I think it makes sense to go in and say that we have added or changed the permission sets a little bit. Because of that feature, we needed some additional permission sets. You can always go to docs to learn more about the permission set. And now that I've reminded you, you can go in and see that they are updated to the new permission sets for version 28. We have added CTS CB export verify, which enable you to manage bank account verification. Then we have the CTS CB sec admin, which is changed from the CTS AW admin. This gives you full control over payment approval flows and workflows, and that's also the one that you need to be able to verify multiple bank accounts in one go. And then we have the last one, which is CTS CB sec read, which is new, and this is like a read-only access to the payment approval workflow, so also the the bank account verification. Moving along to character mapping. In some banks, some characters aren't allowed, and for those payment methods, for those bank systems, where the characters are not allowed, like SEPA, for example, there are some character limitations. We from Continia side have made some standard system mappings. On this screen, you see some of those, and you can also add your own, which will, of course, map name and address and so on. If you look at the image on the screen, you can see it's from one character. We're mapping one character to one to many. So in the, like right next to it on the right, you can see that it's the 2 characters can be either one or several characters that we're mapping to. You can see also on the image that this is system created, and you can add that it's case sensitive. But again, you can add your own. You might be thinking, don't we already have something for this? Because we have the alternative vendor, customer, and employee information. So you would be completely right. We have something along the lines of this. But the alternative vendor, customer, and employee information is for a specific recipient. And it might be the name that's too long or something similar to that. But this gives you the complete control. The alternative vendor, customer, and employee information gives you complete control of what is used for that particular recipient. This is for the payment method for a bank system or for the entire bank system in use. I will go into my click guide to show you how that would look. So first of all, I will navigate to my bank system. You can search for that. I've created a menu. And now I'll select the bank system that I would like to do some alterations or mapping for. I can go into Related and access the character mapping. And this is again for the bank system. So I can change this, the currency symbol, into as nice. So you can see one character to several characters here. And it's not a default because this is something that I'm changing. And I'll go back and I can go into payment methods. And then I can select a specific payment method for this and go into character mapping. And this is the and or ampersand, changing into and king. So again, to several characters. Go back again to the role center. And then I'll go into a vendor just to take a look. I have one here. And you can see that this name is both has the ampersand and the currency sign. So there's going to be a lot of mapping on this one. So let's navigate back again and into cash management because I want to access my payment journal and suggest vendor payments. I want to make a suggestion with this vendor so you can see what will happen when I create the suggestion, just so you also don't think that an error has happened, because as you can see, the account name is the same as it was on the actual vendor account. The change for this only happens after you export the file. So now we've created the suggestion. I'll go and export the payments, all lines. And I'm not going to show you the file because I can't record that. But if we go inside our demo again here, or our PowerPoint, you will see that I've made like a selection from the file. And based on the setup that you just saw, this is the outcome of the file. In the highlighted area of the image on the screen, you can see what the mapping ended up being. And with this, the payment can go through with no issues. And yes, I am trying to manipulate you a little, but this is also true, at least in my opinion. Banking is nice. The next thing is payment information setup. And this is a feature that can be used for a couple of different purposes. It's for you if you have a very specific need to handle a payment method in a certain way on a recipient. So again, for a specific need. So what is this? You can set up a payment information on the payment recipient to meet specific needs that are different from what we offer from Continia's side. So this can be based or it is based on the payment method, on the vendor, on the customer, or on the employee. And you can replace values for a standard payment method. So based on one payment method, you can go in and make changes to fields related to that payment method, or what we've decided is related to that payment method. You can also do, so that's an override of a standard payment method. And then you can also go in and make several payment reference setups on one specific vendor, for example. And let's take a dive into how that might look. Good. So I'll go ahead and use vendors for this one. I'll go ahead and use the Smycle furniture. And I will go into Related. And in here, you can click vendor, and then you can access the payment information setup. As you can see on this line, I actually have a setup for the standard one because I want to add more payment information setups for the payment method 71. So for a FIC reference. I'll create a new one here by clicking New. And then I'll select the payment method. It's going to be the same one, so I'm going to click 71. Now I have two. I'll select that this one is the default method, and then I'll go ahead and select the payment reference template that I want to use. So you can see I have one for fix 71, I have one for fix 75, but I'm going to create a new one. I want this to be a little bit different, so I will go ahead and select the type and then put in the code that has to be unique. So fix 71 new. For this, of course, I want to add some fields because I wanted to build the template. So I'll add a field. And in this case, I've added the purchase header table with the field using the vendor invoice number. Instead of 14, which is in the standard setup, I've said that this would only have the length of 13 characters. I'll add another field. And I will select the modulus 10 for this one. And then I'll go ahead and click OK here. So now you can see I've added two fields to the template, 1 and 2. And in the top here, the payment reference pattern. These are the placeholders for the two fields. You can see now that I have added a length for the modulus of 1. And then I'll also go ahead and change the reference pattern a little bit by adding a 1 in the beginning. So this will be 1 and then be the two different fields. And this 1 is just covering that this is for an invoice. So I'm just doing this for the example. And then I'll go out again. You can see now I have the new fig reference template, and I'll add that to this payment method here. And I'll also add the creditor number. This is different from the first one. So this one ends on an 8 and this one ends on a 9. And this is just to show you that you can use several payment methods with different creditor numbers. Yeah, and then it's filled out the selection that I want. If you then go down here and click the Assist Edit, you can select the new one. Click OK. And then you can see that now it's filled in with the new information. So this is the Fix 71 new payment reference template. And also, you can also see that it has the new creditor number down here. So I'll create a new document, a new purchase invoice. I'll fill in the vendor invoice number. And based on that information, the payment reference has now been filled in. So you can see that it has the information that I filled in into the field up just now, and also the one in the beginning. So now the payment reference is filling that one in, and also the creditor number. Good. Let's take a look at another scenario, and this is for another vendor that has a specific need. The payment method is BTI in this example. I want to go again into the payment information setup. I'll go straight away. I'll select payment method code, BTI. And now the standard information is filled in. I'll click next, and then I can change whatever I want to change. In this example, I want to change the remittance information template. So for example, I want this to be a short remittance information template. You can do that for all of the different templates. You can do the same things. You can change the cost type and the balance account and so on. But let's just select this. I've created the template for this in beforehand, so we don't have to go through another template setup. I'll just select that one. And then I'll put the cost type to be shared. And then I'm ready to go back. And then I'll go into my payment journal. Yeah. I'll make a suggestion. I'll click OK. And now I have 3 lines. And you can see this one is set up with the BTI payment method. And you can see over here, the cost type is shared on the line here. And also the remittance information, which was the basic thing that I wanted to do. This is a short remittance information for that payment method. So this only happens for that specific vendor, so you can control that payment method completely. This one. The next thing is you can copy a payment method. And this is because for some of you, it's important that the payment method is named differently, or you're maybe used to having another name for that specific payment method before Continia Banking. And to be able to achieve this, because we limit we only do validation for Continia Banking payment methods, but now you can achieve that for a payment method that you copy, and then you copy the Continia Banking values into that payment method. So if you look at the image on the screen, you can see that I have created a new payment method. There's a new code here, and I go into actions, functions, copy Continia Banking values, and then I select the payment method that I want to copy the values from. So it's very, very simple. If you do this, you have to be aware that if Continia updates the original payment method, you will have to do this again. You have to copy the values again. Otherwise, it will not live up to the validation requirements from Continia Banking. So this is a manual process for you. Multi-level discount. If you have heard about this before, well, that's because it's not fully ours in Continia Banking. It's something we give more purpose from Continia Finance. This has everything to do with discount, and then depending on when you make the payment, you can get a predefined level of payment discount. That's what comes from Continia Finance. So if you look at this, you can see in this example, in the image, that you can, if you pay within 8 days, that gives you a 2% discount, and within 15 days, 1.5% discount, and so on. The information is available on the ledger entry, and the level of discount is calculated when making the advanced payment suggestion. So let's see that in action. We'll go to a vendor, select the vendor, and then I'll create a new purchase invoice. I'll simply fill all of that in. Again, the important part is that it has the right payment conditions. So 1 month, 8 days, that's the one that has been manipulated. But other than that, just move on from this one. I will post this. All the information has been filled in. Do I want to post it? Yes. No. And then for this, I'll go into the ledger entries to show you that specific line. I've created a couple, but this one here is the one that I just made. And in the right side of the screen, you can see the vendor ledger entry details. You can see the different payment discount dates and the level of payment discount amounts. And if you go into the Continia Finance menu in the top menu here, you can go to multi-level payment discount, and again, get a full overview of the payment discount for this entry, depending on when you pay. So let's go out and go back in to business here, I'll go in and use a payment suggestion template. I'm going to use the advanced payment suggestion. I'm going to create a suggestion and click OK to confirm the information here. So now I have a payment suggestion with one payment. I'll go into that and I'll open the payment card. And in here, you can see that I have a number of lines for this vendor. And the first line is the one that we created. Here you can see the document number. And then we have line 2 and 3, is with different payment discount levels. They were created earlier, so I'm using the same date, the payment suggestion for today, to create those 3 lines and see different levels of that payment discount. So if I go to the right side of the screen, you can see the multiple levels of payment discounts. Amount to pay is different, and you can see the payment discount amounts here. So that is how that works. Go in here. Then we have exported to file and status info on entry. And this is a small but neat addition, and it's also something that a lot of people have requested. So we thought it might be a good idea to get that done. This is all about visual insight and as to where in the flow your payment is from the payment journal, but also from the ledger entry. So on the payment journal line, the Boolean for exported to file is now updated from banking side. And on the ledger entries, you can now access status information about where in the process the ledger entry is. Again, I will show you inside Business Central. We'll navigate to a payment journal. I'll select the payment journal. And I'll suggest vendor payments and click OK. Now I have 2 lines, and there's nothing really to see on this. This is only gets exciting when I've exported them. So I'll press export, all lines. And now you can see the Boolean exported to file, payment file has been updated. And now I will navigate to the vendor to show you what has happened on the ledger entries. So now you can see these are the lines that I just exported. You can see that they have been exported, and even one that's only been suggested and not exported. If I go into the payment register, you can see here that I have a one payment register, and then I can go and click on that. And I can see the 2 lines that have now been exported to the file. So if I go back and close this window here, I can go further into the payment status page and search. This gives you a full overview of all the payment statuses that we receive from the bank. And in that, also the option to search for statuses using different parameters. I have also created a small click guide for this one. So if we go in here, we can go into the payment suggestion templates, and I'll use again the advanced one. Click OK. And now I have one suggestion. I'll go and look at the payments here, open the payment card. And in this, you can see this is only to show you that we now are able to see the end-to-end ID on the advanced payment suggestion. And I'll copy the first one because I want to search for a payment. I want to search for the first one here in line. So I'll copy that. And then I'll create journal lines for this because I want to get a status back from the bank. So I have to than did first. So I'll export the payments. Now they are sent to bank. I'll update the status again. And now I have the status processing. So now I will go and look at the payment status page, search for that one. And you can see now that I have a list of statuses that I can look at and choose from if I want to, but I can also go ahead and use the top menu to search for that end-to-end ID I just copied in the advanced payment suggestion. So I'll execute the search, and now I get one entry in the payments status search result. And as you can see, they have the status that I got from the bank, which means the ACWC is received and accepted. And of course, this can be used for searching for any kind of error or discrepancies. If you don't know where a payment has ended up, you can look for the different statuses and find them. And again, there are a lot of different search criteria. You can also search for amounts and dates and so on. The job queue setup is an overview of every Continia banking job queues that we have. So this is a good way to get full automation in your Continia banking workflows. This gives you the option to keep an eye on if everything is running smoothly, and if not, you can handle it very efficiently from inside this job queue setup also. I have a little bit of a delay in response. That's why it's not moving so fast. Good, so in here, I'll just take you directly into the job queue setup. You can search for that. I've added it as a menu up here now in this to give you the example. So again, it gives you a full overview of every job queue. You can access all of the job queues directly. This will just guide you directly into the job queue entry, and you can handle how you want that to run. You can see this is ready and runs daily. You can also go in and look at, for example, the payment suggestion templates, and you can see them down here also that they have a job queue status, but you can also see them in here and start the job queue if you want to. The job queue is out here on the right side. Also, you can go in and look at the reconciliation import setup. And if you look down here, you can see that I have two entries down here. This is for each of the bank accounts. They are ready, they run daily. So I'm getting an overview of it. But if I want to look more in depth, I can go into the reconciliation import, and you can see now that I have actually two job queues for Nordea and one for Nordea One. This one is for account statements, and this is for transactions. All of them are ready and runs daily, but you can see they have different setup for the different types of statement files. Again, I'll close this, and then I will go to the posting reconciliation setup, which is the same type. So you can see there's one for Nordea. But in here, I actually have two because I have one for bank account reconciliation and one for payment application. Yeah, so you can go in and look more in depth on the different setups that you have. Now I will go to the direct debits because we've made some small additions to the handling of direct debits. The first thing is a new addition in the role center. You can now see the number of direct debits on hold. And this is, of course, because when we do a direct debit return, we want to handle that. And those are set on hold and marked with a certain tag. And then this is where you can access them very easily. So if you want to make sure that you actually want them to be collected again. We can also send a direct debit mandate for a customer to approve or sign. And then we have the third thing is that you can add a split rule to a return reason code. And with this, I move you from banking export, so making payments and making direct debits and all of that is in banking export. And we move into banking import because this has to do with application and reconciliation. So you can already add a split rule to a bank transaction code rule, but you might also run into situations where you need to change the account for a fee if the direct debit is returned for a specific reason. So maybe the extra fee isn't really the customer's fault. And the scenario might be that they were accidentally charged twice and they shouldn't have to pay for that. So let's go in and take a look at how that looks inside Business Central. You go to bank transaction code rules. Again, you can search for this or add it as a menu. On this line, you can see that with this set of bank transaction code rules, I have a return split rule set up. So if I go into this one, you can see I have a fixed amount of 10 for this one. So that's the one that we've been able to do for a while. But on that same set of bank transaction code rules, so still for a direct debit return, I want to go in and make a return reason split rule mapping. If this return has the reason code duplicate or DUPL, then I want to use a different split rule called return reason split. And this is, again, it's the same way, but this has just been set to 10, so you are able to know the difference when we go into the payment reconciliation journal. So that's where I'll go now. I'll select the payment reconciliation journal that I want to use, and you can see here that I have 2 direct debit returns in this, and you can see the second one has the transaction type double payment. But that's not as important. If you look on the right side of the screen, you can see the return reason description is payment is not justified. And the next one here is payment is duplicate to another payment. You can also see it in the reconciliation line details, DUPL. So this is the one that is supposed to be split into 10 and the first one into 5. So if I go in and press apply automatically, you can see now that the 2 split lines have been created. The first one is due to the split rule return split -5. And the second one is due to the double payment return reason code and -10. See, that might not make sense in the real world and making it a duplicate payment and so on, but maybe the posting will make sense. So that's the way you can handle that, adding different types of split rules based on either the bank transaction code rules or the return reason codes for the direct debit. We have some shortcut keys. That's what I was trying to say. That's just a very, very small thing, but it makes it easier and faster for those who are used to not using the mouse as much. So if you work in the payment reconciliation journal, you can use these shortcut keys. During reconciliation and application, this opens pages directly from the reconciliation page. Shift 11, apply entries page, and Shift F12, payment proposal review. And in the payment application review, you can go and apply, and it's either on the payment application review or apply entries page. You can click Shift 11 to apply all marked lines, and then you can click Control Shift 11 to unapply all marked lines. So just a small thing. Rule addition. We've made some additions to our suite of rules. So this is again all about what happens during our reconciliation. You can set up a split rule without an account. So that is a benefit if you want to dynamically derive that account from the main transaction and whatever account that is added to. So let's go ahead and look at that. I'll go into payments to import. I'll go into the payment reconciliation journal. I will go to the rules here. I have one line, as you can see already here, that I need to work with. And I will go into the rules and apply the split rule. I'll select the one called from account. And just to show you, I'll go in and edit this one. And you can see that this does not have an account. There is no account on this. It's just a fixed amount and same sign as the original amount, but no GL account and no account attached to it. So I'll click OK. I want to use that one, yes. So it creates the line due to the split rule. And if I go up here and press apply automatically, because I want this line now to get an account. So now it has the customer account number attached to the line and also for the split rule line. So derived from the main transaction. Another thing we have is the transformation rules. And this is an addition to the payment reference rule. So that means that you can get a string in. You recognize that that is a payment reference, but it doesn't contain something that matches directly. So what can you do about that? You can use the transformation rule, and this is only for more complex matching. So you don't have to worry about it if everything is simple, but you might need to only have a substring of characters to match the field value in BC. You might have a part of the string that needs to be replaced by another character or other characters, or you might need to rebuild the matched value so that it matches a field in Business Central. A regular expression can get you really far, so that's what we're using in some of the different scenarios. And this makes you able to match without limitation almost. You can add to the beginning, the end, the middle, you can delete, replace, and so on, whatever you can do in a regular expression. So when do we need this? Sometimes, and these are just examples, the invoice number is longer than what is sent for the customer. So you might have a very, very long invoice number, but you only send part of that to the customer. And then of course, that's what's going to be from the customer side. That's what their reference will be. So that means that you need to fill in some characters to be able to match that to something inside Business Central. Also, some references. So for example, you make a payment reference, like a FIG, for example. They don't allow characters, but you might actually have characters or letters. You might actually have letters in your actual document number. It might also be that they contain the dash, and then when the customer makes the payment, they might remove that dash altogether. So let's take a look at what that might look like when you get some lines in inside the payment reconciliation journal. So I'll go into the payment reconciliation journal. I'll select again the reconciliation journal that I want to work with. I'll apply automatically. So now you can see the first three lines are fixed already. They're completed. I want to show you what makes this match. So I'll go in and look at the payment reference rule that matched this, simple 6 it's called. I'll just click that. And then inside the payment reference rule, you can see that there is a transformation rule. And this one is built as a replace by using regular expression. And all I want to do in this one is add zeros to the beginning of the text that I get from the customer. So I'll find value by pattern. And if I access that, you can see in here that I've added a pattern text. So again, if the goal is that I get 6 characters, I want to add zeros in the beginning of the string. So what I'm using in this case, I can do this in different ways. I can also just create groups and place them around. But for this, I'm using what's called a look ahead. That means that I stay at the starting of the position, the start position of the string. And then I look ahead to see if I have 6 characters, then I can use this and replace the beginning of the string in this case. So I'll navigate back and then replace value with 8 zeros. I'll put in a text, 6 characters, and then I'll update that. And then you can see the result is that I get 8 zeros and then the 6 characters. What that looks like in the payment application review is that down here you can see the external document number that I'm matching has the 8 zeros, and the string in details here now has the added 0, so I'm able to match it. I'll close this one and go ahead to the next one. For this one, it's any 16. I'll go into that payment reference rule and I'll go directly to my transformation rule, which is called 7 out of 16. So that means if you look here in the general section, I'm using a substring transformation type. I'm taking a starting position and then the length of the string, the characters, and that would look like this. I have 16 characters, this update, and then I have the 7 characters that I need for my match. One thing I will mention is that it's very important that you use the direct match when you use the transformation rule. Again, now you can see here the characters up here from the details is now matching the external document number down here. I'll move out again and go into this one here, prefix alteration. And this one is changing zeros to invoice. So I'll go ahead and look at this is replace text, transformation type, replace text. And I'm finding the value of 8 zeros and replacing it with INV. So I will go ahead and put in 8 zeros down here to see if it works, press update, and then INV is the correct result. What that looks like when you get the line in, you can see here, the details contains the original string. It's also up here, and then it's transformed into INV 102, and so on, and matching. Now the last two here, they have also details, but they're not completed. They're not matching anything. And if I know my system, I know this system, and I know what this is. I would think that a rule might be too much for this because I can see that the document number is right here and right here. So it's a prefix and a suffix that's not correct according to the document number. I'm matching using a document number also, which is a regular form of matching. And to be able to do this without creating any rules for it, we have a setup. I'll go and search for my Continia Banking import setup here. And down here, I have extended document number prefix matching. And when I turn this on, or enable it, I can go back, press apply automatically, and now they are completed. And that's simply because it's able to see that the match is there if I remove the characters in front of and the characters after. I have a match to the document number. So when I enable that, I'm just able to do that. That's not a transformation rule. That's just a simple thing that we've added that correlates with the transformation rule a little bit. Payment difference handling. This is if a customer makes a payment that exceeds the amount that they owe you. You can decide how you want a payment to be handled. This is for overpayments. You can transfer it to an account, which might make sense if you want to, that the overpayment is using for a different transaction, so another invoice. If you have an accounting policy that requires that the overpayments are immediately put into another account, then also. But you can also transfer the overpayment to the original payment, and this gives you a much cleaner reconciliation and also a cleaner set of ledger entries on the customer. It's much easier to handle a refund and an application to another invoice because you don't have to link it afterwards to other entries. Another type of payment difference is partial payments. And when the transaction amount is lower than the remaining amount, a new action is shown to apply a partial payment. This reduces the applied amount by the difference. And you have to be aware that payment discount is not possible in this scenario. So the remaining amount, including discount and applied amount, are set to 0. For payment discount, when the payment discount date has passed, a new action is shown to transfer difference to payment discount. And this updates the payment discount dates and recalculates remaining amount, including discount, applied amount, applied payment discount. When the payment tolerance discount date has passed, a new action is shown to transfer differences to payment discount tolerances. And this updates the payment discount tolerance date and recalculates the field accepted payment tolerance, remaining amount, including discount, applied amount, and applied payment discount. When the difference is more than the maximum payment tolerance amount, a new action is shown to transfer difference to payment tolerance, and this updates the applied payment tolerance and recalculates the applied amount. I have created a little walkthrough of this also to keep track of time. And I'll go into the payment reconciliation, select the bank account. Let's take a look at the first proposal here. So this is a transaction amount that the customer has paid the full amount and didn't claim their actual payment discount. You can see that the remaining amount, including discount, is lower than what they actually paid. So what I want to do is that I want to apply the proposal because I want to take the money from them. So you get a notification to transfer the discount to, or the difference to an account, but that's not what we want to do in this example. I want to go in and remove this remaining payment discount, and then everything is recalculated, and I have the correct amount that they paid, and it's handled without any payment difference or payment discounts. Let's go back and take the next slide here. So this is a payment where they did claim the payment discount, but the payment was too late. So the discount date has expired. I'll go ahead and click this drop down here and then apply proposal with accepting expired payment discount. So it's done automatically for me. It's reconciled perfectly with the accepted payment discount, and there is no difference to all of this. Next one, we're halfway through. I'll go in here. This is an overpayment, so they paid too much. And I'll just go ahead and apply this. And now you can see that there is a difference. So I want to handle this by applying or transferring the difference to the payment. And now you can see here in the bottom that the applied amount and the overpay amount is handled. And the overpayment is simply on the original payment from the customer as an overpayment paid amount. The last one, this is a scenario where the customer made a partial payment of only half the invoice. I'll go ahead and press the action here, apply partial payment. And now you can see the applied amount is the transaction amount, and there is no difference. So it's handled as a partial payment. CSV port setup. was a little bit hard before. It's a very helpful tool to be able to import CSV and Excel files into either PSP or Payment Reconciliation Journal. And now we've just made an assisted setup guide for this to be able to make it easier to set up. So I'll just go ahead and show you how that assisted setup guide works. Search for CSV port setup or create a menu. Now I'll just go ahead and give it a CSV port code into something relevant. New port. I'll select the import target. In this case it'll be PSP. And then I'll add the payment service provider code that I want to use for this one. I will then upload a file that I want to create the CSV port for. And then you can see the file is successfully uploaded. I'll click next. So what you'll see here is that in the top, it's the settings for everything. And in the bottom, you'll see the preview of the file. Yeah, so first thing I want to do is I want to say skip lines from start. That's 2 lines. And then I have the header line here. So you can see the first line contain header, and that's type, captures, date, sales, and so on. So you see the preview all together right away. And let's just go ahead and go to the next page. On this one, you can set up the separators and delimiters, and you can again see the example in the bottom of the page here, so you can see that this is correct. I can also define the posting dates and the description column, as well as alternative posting description. Again, you can see the columns in the bottom of the page here, and then you can see the preview up here in the middle of the page. You can set up amounts and currencies columns. See the columns in the bottom here, and you can see the amount and currency in the file preview. And in here, it's all about defining the date and amount formats, and you can go a little bit deeper into configure amount format settings. And in here, you can set up how you want those amounts to be handled. There might be a factor that you want to divide by. It might be an absolute value or whatever. All of these settings you can go in and be more specific about in here. And if you have any dimensions that you want to set up, and then again, you have the final validation for everything you've set up. And then you finish, you can see the new CSV port. You can make alterations here, but you can also go through the assisted setup again and just select the port. And now I want to go back and into payment service providers because I want to show you that the new payment service provider is created with the new port that we just set up. And then, of course, you go by your business, creating a new PSP agreement and importing files into the payment service provider. Good. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you have a really nice afternoon, and I hope to see you all soon again. So bye from me.